If you are a college basketball fan, like I am, this is the time of year you look forward to. This is my time. I love it. And even if you don't love it so much, there are some people who think the best part of the entire time is at the last game when it's over, and after they crown the winner, they play the song, One Shining Moment. That will bring people out to watch. Sometimes it's a tearjerker. Sometimes it really hits you well. If your team happens to be the one celebrating, you can really enjoy one shining moment. I want to take that theme, I want to take some words from the song that is played, and I want us to think about the one shining moment all of us are seeking, the one shining moment laid out there that we can know is true. Now, there are a lot of shining moments that you may have had in your life and things that were special to you and you looked forward to and you couldn't wait to get to them. We're going to talk about those tonight. But for right now, the one shining moment. When John recorded those words in Revelation 22, he was recording that shining moment for every single person who would read it. And he was saying that there is coming a day when finally you will be there. Your moment will have arrived, and you will be in that place. Notice the text says that there will be no need for the sun because God is the light. It is a place of total light. Only light is there. It will be the time and the place where we will then experience for the first time ever what a real shining moment is all about. Give you 3 ideas this morning for us to think about, to concentrate, and to look forward to our time in heaven. First, your shining moment is up to you. From the words of the song, I had to look them up. And once I started reading them, I had to confess that I am singing the song in my head. The tune is there, and I'm singing the song. And I'm going to try to hold off and not sing it while I'm standing here this morning because it really fires me up. But it's up to you. The ball is tipped, and there you are. In John chapter 3, Jesus was talking to Nicodemus. And he said, unless you're born again, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Your ball has been tipped. There you are. If you're a child of God, you've been born into this. And you were born for this. You are not made to be someplace else. You were made to live in that shining moment. Peter says of that other place that it was prepared for the devil and his angels. It wasn't prepared for you and me. He doesn't want us there. You were born for the moment that could come, the shining moment in heaven. And if you've been born again, you are on the pathway. You are in it. Maybe you, if you want to, can have your one shining moment. It's up to you. You were born for it. Not only were you born for it, you chose it. Once you've been born into it, now you are chosen. You've chosen to say, I want to do this. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star. And I'm thinking about those athletes who made a decision to attend a certain college, to be involved in that team, and to be exactly in the place where they are because they chose it. They wanted it. Maybe you've been born into it, but you've not really committed. Maybe you've not really held out and said, I'm choosing this. I want this. This is absolutely what I'm after. The Hebrew writer would say, since we are surrounded with such a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. You're running for your life. You are running for your life in that one shining moment, and you know that every single one of those athletes is so geared and so ready and chosen, and they do in fact see it as a race, and they are running as hard as they can to achieve it. And heaven, this place that John talks about, is worth that. But you got to work hard to get it. The song says, no one knows how hard you worked. If you've played any sport at all, you know those hours and hours spent practicing, detailed work. The fans were not there to see that. People weren't there cheering you on in practice. But it's all of that. Running laps, running suicides, if you know what that is, and we had to run them in basketball. All the drills, all the preparation, all the time and work and effort. If you don't work hard, you won't see your shining moment. And how many people are interviewed during this time, and they say, they refer to all the sweat and tears and work that they had to put into it to get to the place where they are as they search for their one shining moment. The song continues. One line is this: the time is short, but the road is long. James said, what is your life? It is like a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes away. I've heard interviews of those who have played in those NCAA tournaments, men, women. And they talk about how they couldn't wait to get to it, and they worked so hard to get there, and then all of a sudden, it was over. Those 4 years went by in a flash. Just look at your life. I'm looking around and I'm seeing people who've had vast changes in their lives in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it seems like yesterday. The shining moment is out there. The place where the shining moment occurs is out there. But the time is short. It could happen at any moment. Are you ready? Are you ready to get into the place? Are you ready to be there in that place of your one shining moment? You'd better get prepared. We better be prepared. I don't know how much time I have to get prepared. I can only imagine the feeling of spending all of that time and all of that preparation and all of that effort. And you play one game and then it's over. And they missed it. That was their shining moment, but then it's over. All that effort finished. One day, it will be over. One day, your shining moment will come. One day, we will all face that opportunity. It may be today. It may be far in the future in time. But even if it is, the time will have been short. It's up to you. The one shining moment is there for you. Paul said in Colossians 1 in verse 5, there is a hope laid up for you in heaven that you learned about in the Word of God. That hope is laid up. It's set aside. Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. To say that it is laid up means it is prepared, it is set up, it is ready to be inhabited. It stands there saying, I'm ready to present it to you. Do you want it? But you have to lay hold on it. The Hebrew writer said in chapter 6 and in verse 18 that we have this strong urge that we can lay hold of the hope that is set before us because God does not lie. He laid it up and He doesn't lie. So I can lay hold of it. Because it's there for me. But that one shining moment, Hebrews 6 and 19, this hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, and entering into the presence behind the veil. Jesus is there. In that place that He said He would lay up, in that place that He said He would prepare, and it is the anchor of the soul. When we go through the loss of a loved one, and you know that that loved one has served the Lord faithfully, doesn't that become an anchor for you the rest of your life? Doesn't it become an anchor to say, okay, because they are there, I can go there too. David said when his son died, he'll never come to me again. But I can go to him. And that thought of him going there to his son was an anchor for his life. And it can be an anchor in your life. And it can be an anchor in my life. We know the anchor. The stability that comes with the thought of the one shining moment. And when it comes, it will surpass anything you have ever thought of before. I love hearing those winners talk about what it's like to win that tournament. How special is it? And how many of them say, I can't describe it. One of the teams yesterday had won a huge upset on Thursday, and they won again yesterday, and they were interviewing one of the players, and he was sobbing and crying. And he couldn't even speak. I just don't know. And through his tears, he is so jubilant. He is so excited. It's just all over him. And he can't even hardly express himself. I wonder, the first time we see our one shining moment, will we be able to express ourselves? John had to write about it. It seems to me they had a hard time trying to figure out how to say the words to describe that place. But Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, beginning verse 16, "Therefore we do not lose heart. Even though our outward man is perishing, yet our inward man is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we do not look at the things that are temporary but at the things that are eternal." He said, it's not possible to know how great is the eternal weight of glory that is coming. I don't understand. Not possible to know how wonderful it will be. But when we enter our one shining moment, here's what we will know. We'll see our name written on the line. Until I looked it up, I did not realize that concept was about 8 times in the New Testament. The Hebrew writer was one of them, chapter 12 and verse 23, when he said, the church, calling the church of the firstborn, whose names are registered in heaven. I love those images during the tournament. When a team wins, and they take their team name and they slap it on the line, moving on to the next game. Someday, our one shining moment, you'll get to see your name right there on the line in God's book. And then you'll be able to rest. The Hebrew writer in chapter 4 said, there remains therefore a rest to the people of God. The one who finally wins. Imagine the rest. Those 35 other games. Those hundreds of hours of practice. the years of preparation before even getting to college, all of it, you can now rest. You can breathe a sigh of relief. And when we walk into our one shining moment, I'm sure that it will be such a sense of peace that we can just say, because you'll be able to celebrate with all the others who are also in their one shining moment. Paul envisioned that with the Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 17. Then we will be caught up together with them to meet the Lord in the air. All those others who are also going to experience their own one shining moment, we'll be right there with them. And we'll be able to celebrate. We will be able to say, we made it. We're all here together. Isn't it great? And as Revelation 21:4 says, then it will all be worth it. Former things have passed away. All things are new. No pain or sorrow or death or crying. Then I can say it was worth it. Whatever I had to sacrifice, whatever I had to leave, whatever I had to set aside, it was worth it, because this one shining moment is incredible. And finally, we will be able to raise our hands in victory. Revelation 21:6. God says, it is done. I'm Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. It's done. It's finished. And in heaven, it's over. The past is gone. There will only be present. And John said in 1 John 5:4, this is the victory that overcomes the world, even our faith. Have you ever been victorious? Ever been able to raise your hands and say, I won? It's a special feeling, isn't it? Just think what it will be like when in victory we can all raise our hands together and experience the one shining moment for which we were born, that we chose, that anchored our lives the entire time we were trying to get there, and that is far better than ever I could have expressed it. I hope you find your one shining moment. I hope you reach it. It's there for you. Jesus paved the way. And like the bracket that runs the tournament, I find myself in a battle with something all of the time, and you will too. And we're just battling our way through these various encounters bracketed there for us, reaching forward to one day when it's gone and we win. If you've not been immersed into Jesus Christ, you've not been born into this way that leads to that moment. Why not today? But every one of us can say, hopefully, more clearly, more certainly, more confidently, I want to and I am on the path to my one shining moment. And if we can help you with that, our elders, our shepherds are ready to meet you as we stand together.